Dallas, just how cold were you in Alaska?
Well, we filmed in Montreal, and but I have been many times to Alaska, specifically Fairbanks, and it's just as cold, just as cold. The we had some pretty long night shoots where it was negative 10 degrees, negative down to negative 12, and it gets in your bones.
How do you prepare for weather like that? I mean, do you go out and buy about three or four pairs of long johns and put them all on at once? Or
Well, I've had the tremendous pleasure of growing up in my traditional homelands. I'm Dakota from Oceti territories, which is also commonly known as Minnesota. Born and raised in Minnesota and South Dakota, I'm used to the cold weather. I'm used to the cold wind, blizzards, and all the such. I still talk about the blizzard of 1993, and those of you that remember and know this, you know that was a pretty big blizzard. And so it wasn't too much of a thing for me to adjust to the cold shoots. I think that the challenge when you're filming is a lot of times you're just sitting around. And hats off to Apple and the production company who takes care of us. I mean, we have the best we can. We have warming tents and layers of jackets, and even they have this new technology now where it's like gloves that have batteries in them and vests that you can wear that are all like electronic heaters and stuff. So we were pretty well taken care of in all the cold.
now, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but I guess it's safe to say this. Uh, I'm sure glad that as the hero's best friend, you didn't get offed. I mean, usually in a movie or a series like this, it's like, oh yes, we've known each other for years, and that's like, painting a target on your back. So I'm glad you're still around for possibly the Last Frontier Part 2.
Hey, I hope so too. I really do hope so. And you're the publication Cowboys and Indians, like you said, you're well aware often of the fate of the good sidekick, and I'm so happy that the showrunner, the writers took a lot of care and not only creating this story and all the action that's a part of it. It's an amazing journey um, with a lot of twists and turns, but also takes a lot of care to portray Alaska for what it is, which is a very community-driven, region. It really you depend on people. You have to depend on people to survive in Alaska. I speak on that because having worked with a number of people, the Alaska Natives in particular, and I think that they took a lot of care to make sure that, especially the Native stories, are told authentically, and that I feel comfortable with also the story of my specific character. And yeah, I do look forward I'm looking forward if we get the season two. I'm looking forward to what comes for my character.
Now, I realize even if it's on a feature film, you don't get too much, if any, rehearsal time. Uh, I bought the long time friendship from you two guys. How did you make that work? I mean, I can only assume that this may have been a situation where, first day of shooting. Oh, hi, how you doing? Okay, well, let's get in the patrol car.
No, I have admired Jason Clark for many years as an actor. He's one of the best, and having met him, dude, he's so nice. He's a nice dude, and he's very giving as an actor. I think that if anything, as a performer, as an actor, you want somebody that helps bring out the best of your artistry in your performance, and Jason fits that to a T. Um, he's really has like been a mentor on set. We did have we did have the opportunity to do some introduction before we started filming. We actually did some rehearsals, some action rehearsals. As you've seen, haven't watched it, there are a number of action moments in the show, and so we had to be prepared. So we had to get kind of acquainted in that way. And one of the first things he actually did is when we first got on production, he took me out to eat. We had a really good dinner and bought me a cool hat. I actually should have brought it. I should have showed you the hat he bought me. But it's overall all the actors we really try to take care of each other. You have to do that when you're on a hard shoot, such as Last Frontier.
Now, when you're out in the world, when you're at the grocery store, you're in line at the bank, do you ever have any, Rutherford Falls fans come up to you and want to berate you for trifling with Reagan's affections.
Shout out to the Rutherford Falls callback here. Awesome. Great work. Um, I do. I do get a lot of people who are sad that we didn't get to see the end journey of their potential love triangle in that show. I was really nervous about that show because I'd never done a romantic comedy. And also the other part of it is, for those that don't know, Rutherford Falls was a show that was on NBC Peacock. And it was one of the first times Native people got to see a romance between Native protagonists, and it's kind of crazy that that's historic in its own right. But I do get noticed out in the wilds every now and then, and oftentimes it's older peoples who come up to me like they really love the show and they wish to see the romance flourish.
Michael Gray Eyes told me that he was a little nervous at first because, he's done a lot of great performances and great movies, but he's never really done a lot of comedy. And he said, frankly, he had to depend on, a lot of the other people in the cast to let him know that he was actually doing funny stuff.
No, I there's another actor that's pretty well known named Zahn McLaren. He's one of the top premier native actors out there, and I got the opportunity to act with him on this show, Drunk History on Comedy Central, and it's a comedy. It's a comedy setup, and he had never done that. He said the exact same thing. I talked to Michael. What you said, what Michael told you is the exact same thing he told me. Is that the sad thing is that there are so many native actors who get pigeonholed into these serious roles that they never get to get out of it. And Michael had that chance in Rutherford Falls. Has gotten that chance in other shows, Reservation Dogs, which I was on with him.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and it's so it just feels so freeing to do that because we're often seen as the stoic, Indian on a horseback, and we have to be all serious. To have an opportunity to portray a different part of ourselves is tremendous. And my background, I do sketch comedy, improv comedy. That's how I got into performance, into theater, and so it's all I've gotten to do. And so for me, what makes me nervous is to play the serious role, like in Last Frontier, where I'm like, I'm a U.S. federal marshal. There's no slapstick comedy in this. I get to have some
Oh,
friendly banter, but I was like, oh, all right, I get to be a stoic cop. Let's see how this goes.
how did you feel about playing it? I guess this is your first time playing a peace officer.
I feel like it's it was actually a really interesting learning experience for me. So I play U.S. Federal Marshal. The Marshal Service are
Yeah.
a federal agency. Um, and in my research for it, I actually reached out to a number of former native U.S. Marshals. And one of the U.S. Marshals I actually talked with was the U.S. Marshal that was stationed in South Dakota, who led the investigation on the murder of Anna Mae Aquash, who was a prominent Native American activist. And
Oh, yeah.
the U.S. Marshals led the investigation to find her murderers, and they did 30 years after she was murdered. And that was one like a tremendous experience in my research to hear from them directly of how they went about their research, how they went about their investigation, but then also to talk to them how they got into the Marshal Service. And a lot of U.S. Marshals who are Native are either tribal cops or they come out of the military. And it was a really big learning experience to see how this agency serves greater communities, but also how it serves Native communities in particular. And this show being based in Alaska, the Native community is a major part of the Fairbanks community.
Now you mentioned Reservation Dogs. You had to walk a very fine line, I think, playing that character. I mean, most of the time, oh, he's funny, he's going to fall off his horse, or he's going to do this. But there's also melancholy, might not be strong enough to describe, his emotions. The idea that, yes, he's a ghost, he's come back, but he got killed. Uh, during a famous battle. He may not have made it all the way to the battle, but he got killed nonetheless. What were the particular challenges you thought you faced playing that character?
I think that the one is that character. In some ways, I belong to a sketch comedy group called the 1491s, And we traveled for 15 years. One of the members is Sterling Harjo, who's the showrunner of Reservation Dogs, and we were, as all the performers, we were writers on the show. And so there's aspects of that character that we actually developed on stage. So I was a little bit more comfortable coming into that, pulling from our the different characters that we've developed over the years. I feel like it really wasn't that hard for me to get into that space because I think I felt so natural. I almost feel like the opposite, the dramatic, serious Indian on horseback, that's hard because it's not realistic. I feel like it's not really realistic to us as we are in our contemporary times as Native people, right? We're complete, fully rounded human beings with a whole range of emotions, including goofiness and silliness. And so be able to carry the weight of like being an ancestor, trying to impart knowledge, but also not being a perfect ancestor, I think is was not only necessary for the story that we were trying to tell, but actually fairly easy for me because I feel like I get to be me. I get to be who I am as Dallas and put that into this character. I think in Last Frontier, it's a different angle, right? It's a different angle, different genre, different vibe. And so I just tried to do my very best to bring myself into that character. I think also the challenge is I'm not Alaska Native, right? So that's the other challenge is like how do I represent being an Alaska Native from not from there? So I really put a lot of time in trying to reaching out, talking to the cultural consultant named Sam Alexander, who's awesome by the way, and making sure that I'm pronouncing words correctly and being very good in my representation.
Now, I'm looking at this, from the outside, and for all I know, you spent long, agonizing months waiting by the phone, hoping for your next gig. But it seems to me you've been quite a busy camper lately, and I don't know if one thing led to another, to another. Uh, do you think part of it? Well, part of it is you're a great actor, but I mean, part of it is also. Do you think the time is right for Native American actors and Native American representation in movies and TV?
I do. I feel like we have, for a number of years now, I've been seeing a renaissance within Native cinema, not only in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. I think that Hollywood has definitely taken notice of the lack of representation of Native writers, Native directors, and Native actors. I think that a lot of credit goes to us as Native performers and making sure, like, hey, we're gonna no matter what, we're gonna keep doing and keep performing and keep showing you what we can do, and people are gonna take notice. I think Reservation Dogs really put a lot of folks on the map of like, oh, this is the potential for. Um, there's so much potential here beyond just the actors on camera. I think that also, you're seeing a lot of different stories explore and making sure that there's Native representation there, but that's done right. And I think that I only hope that we continue that. The industry is kind of in a bit of a dip. It's been struggling a bit since post strike with the economy, but I do have a lot of hope for myself as well as other Native actors that we are continuing to find these opportunities. I Look, this might seem kind of weird, but when I first got into this gig, when I first got Reservation Dogs, I told my managers, when I first hired my manager, they said, "What do you want? What kind of roles do you want?" And I said, "You know what? I want to see how far I can go before I book an angry Indian on a horseback. I want to see how far I can go in this career until I feel like I'm compelled to take that role. And nothing against those roles, nothing against the actors that have to take that,
Yeah.
but I saw an opportunity as an actor to push outside the usual roles for myself, and so I've been lucky so far, and just been. I'm really grateful for Apple and for taking the chance on me with the show. I auditioned when I was in New Zealand visiting. I had to do like 3 auditions for this role, and I was so worried. I was like, "What do I do? Do they want me more lighthearted? Do they want me to joke more? Do they want me to be serious?" And whatever I did, I just dropped the phone. Whatever I did worked. Whatever I did seemed to work, and they liked me. So I hope
So
they
you
keep
were in New
me around.
Zealand? You were in New Zealand and they had to what? You did it on Zoom or your audition?
So I was in New Zealand. I was doing like a cultural exchange program, learning about indigenous governance and amongst Maori folks in Aotearoa. And I did the audition tape, and they had me do two callbacks. I was literally on a Zoom in a hotel in like remote New Zealand with the showrunner, and yeah, they had me read a couple lines. And funny enough, what you spoke to, I think what they really were looking for is what's the chemistry with between me and Jason and our main character, because you have to portray two friends who really know each other, who are willing to basically die for each other, right, to defend each other, make sure each other are safe on duty. And I guess it worked. I guess it works, and yeah.
Okay, I've got to be careful how I ask this question. Like, the whole interview with Jason, it was like, can I ask? No, I guess I can't ask that. Uh, does your character know about Jason's tragedy?
I think that Jason, our characters have been in working together for a number of years, and he knows that Jason went through some stuff, but doesn't know the length to which happened. So um, that's the best as I understand it, could understand it, right? Like
Mhm.
there's an angle here that nobody knows but Jason, and what my character does know, it feeds into my love and care for my brother in duty.
Finally, and just to preface this, my father's from Ireland. And once I sat him down to watch the classic John Ford movie, The Informer, and I thought he'd like it. And about 10 minutes of the thing, he said, turn that damn thing off. And I'm going to try to do my father's Irish accent here. Oh, Joseph, it's Paddy this and Paddy that. What kind of stuff? So
Great accent, by the way.
oh yes. When do you remember the first time you were watching a movie or TV show and saw a representation of a Native American, an indigenous person? And wait, I'm just a kid, but I know this is bogus.
Oh, with a bogus representation.
Yeah.
Oh man, my dad's and them all like they used to love all the John Wayne movies, and my uncle, my dad, they watched the John Wayne movies, but they would always make a point of saying that's not real. That's not how we really were. But they still were entertained by the movie. But they were like, we didn't do that. We didn't act like that. And actually, all those guys are white guys dressed as Indians. So it was very, I grew up in a home that was very forthcoming in their critical analysis of Native representation on camera. Um, I think on the flip side, my first memories of representation where I responded to was actually in Little Big Man with Dustin Hoffman. And it was,
Chief Dan
um,
George.
huh? Yeah, Chief Dan George. And his representation, oh my God, it was so good because the humor, the subtlety that he brought to the camera to his character was so real and so grounded. Even though he's playing a character from the 1800s, he was my uncle today, and I resonated with that. I love that portrayal that we saw of Chief Dan George. The other one was Graham Greene in the movie Maverick with Mel Gibson, where it was an all inside joke of like, hey, we're portraying natives just for the benefit of some rich guy, and that was all the in story joke. So those are two pivotal moments for me where that inspired me as a performer.
There you go. Well, if you ever get a chance, uh, the movie Dudley Do Right.
I haven't watched that one.
Well, Terry is playing an Indian in that one, but they make a joke of it. They talk about how, oh, they do like this dinner theater show for the tourists where they, dance. And he says, yeah, like we're real Indians.
I gotta watch it.
Dallas, thank you very much for your time, for your words, for braving the bugs,
Hey,
just to
hey,
keep this conversation going.
I'm a country boy at heart, so the bugs come with it. Hey, that's the life. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hope everyone watches Last Frontier, enjoys the wild ride that it is, and
Oh, yes.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.